Did you ever feel so bad inside?
Like woman, one like woman, one. Oh, one like woman,
So bad inside.
Hey guys, it's Macy from Blind Woman 101 back with another video. Second week in a row. I'm not sure how long this is going to continue with college starting back soon, but for right now, I think I'm doing pretty good. But this is one of the most highly requested videos and something that I've put off until this point because, for this reason, because I wanted to wait until I have gotten through it and kind of know what to say a little bit more. But this video is, drumroll, keeping in suspense, my seizure strategies and how I cope and manage. And this is a really good time to do it now because, knock on wood, I am going on 2 months almost being seizure free. My last seizure was May 28th and it is July 21st today, so almost 2 months, no seizures whatsoever. Now I still have the jerks and spasms, but not, I haven't been going non-verbal at all. I haven't needed the wheelchair. So, in this video, I'm going to show you guys how I accomplished this, and you may be able to see it, but I'm not for sure. But if you see me reading down here, I'm looking at notes I typed up, but yeah, let's get on with the video. It might be kind of a long one, but you guys asked for it, and here it is. So number one is work with a seizure specialist. So let me backtrack. In May of 2024, so last year, I was diagnosed with functional neurological disorder, which is FND, which is the umbrella term for POTS, dysautonomia, which those are the two that I've recently, within the past month, got diagnosed with, psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, which I have, and we're going to talk about this in this video, and functional dystonia, which I also have, as well as selective mutism. So, I think that covers all of it, but that's FND is the umbrella term for all of this, but you will also hear me refer to it as PNES, psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, but the umbrella term for all of the embedded conditions is FND. So, the first thing to do is work with seizure specialists. So, finally, we scoured the internet, we looked up videos, we researched daily, we tracked symptoms, and we finally found someone near our area that specializes in PNES and FND. So, got on a waiting list, and not even 2 weeks later, we were in, and it just kind of, it was really scary to begin with, because I'm like, okay, am I ready for this? The journey is officially going to start from here. And I knew from the very beginning when I first started, it was not going to be an easy process. Now, I would have never imagined that it would get to the extent that it did, but I will cover that in this video probably at some point. But the next strategy is, well, okay, let me elaborate. A lot of doctors and specialists normally will not understand FND, PNES, non-epileptic seizures. A lot of them will think they are attention-seeking. Yes, I have been told that, or it has been implied that I think it's attention-seeking. But, or it's been implied by doctors and professionals that I may be doing this for attention, or it's a behavioral issue, or I'm crazy and need to be in a psychiatric hospital, or I need to just suck it up and manage my anxiety better. And then once we finally found a specialist that is in this condition and has had training, it's when we finally, after 2 long years, felt seen and heard and validated. That is so important. I cannot stress it enough. Once you know the official diagnosis, look up specialists in your area, find someone that specializes in this condition. And because that is the only way that we finally felt validated, and it's basically kickstarted the action plan of treatment process. So the next one is make lists for anything and everything. Track symptoms, triggers, how you're feeling specific days. It doesn't even have to be a detailed journal. You don't have to share it with anyone. You can share it, you don't have to. It can be yours. It can be something you talk about in therapy. But make lists for anything and everything. And at one point I was hesitant when we first started out because I'm like, oh, I can't find a way to make this accessible, or, I don't remember some of the seizures I have. Translated, finally, once I took a in-depth dive into that, translated into I didn't want to face the reality that I was having as many seizures and symptoms as I was having. And once I did, yes, it was a punch in the gut, and I took it extremely hard and heavy, but it's what kind of propelled us forward. And because we knew the symptoms, we knew what to look for, we knew when they were happening, if patterns were present. So, make lists. Also when you're doing good and having good days. List bad and good. And for me now, after 2 months seizure-free, it's cool to look back and say, look how far I've come. Looking at the list. On this day, a year ago, I was struggling. Now, here I am, and I've learned coping strategies. Number 3 is really important also. Modify, but don't quit. When I do my full PNES story, which I'm planning on doing someday, but not in this video, but I will give like a brief rundown. Senior year started in 2024, August of 2024, and I was all hopeful I was going to have a great year, and it ended up being where I had to do shortened school days, and we had to modify it, but we knew taking me out of school would only hurt more because it was basically another way of helping short-term but not long-term, and it was basically avoiding FND, PNES triggers. So modify, but don't quit. So we modified days, modified accessibility and adaptations, but we kept at it. This next one is be overly prepared. Now, if anyone has seen my purse, you know it's a Mary Poppins bag. It has fidgets, it has headphones. I'm going to make communication cards that have one set of like emergency information for healthcare providers, or something like that, and then another set for when I am in the seizure, and hopefully I won't have to use them, but it will make me feel better knowing that they are there if I ever need them. Same with the wheelchair. I'll be starting college in a few weeks. I'm going to have a wheelchair. In fact, I have the last part of that coming today. I have a chest harness coming and a shoulder harness. I have a wheelchair. I have a seat belt that goes like a lap belt. So I have a wheelchair. I have a cushion. I have all the bits and bobs that go on it. Now the thing is, I might be just spending money on something I will never use, but I would rather have it and not need it than all of a sudden need it and not have anything and be stuck. Same with communication devices or anything like that, anything that you need. The next one I'm not a fan of, and I hate to say that it helps, but it helps. Cut out processed foods from your diet. Now, if anyone knows me, you know that I like the candy and the cookies and cakes and sugar and all of that. Macaroni and cheese, any type of the unhealthy, sugary, processed carbs, anything like that. Bread, pizza. But, unfortunately, that only animates the jerks and the spasms and the seizures because of all of the preservatives that you're putting into your body without realizing. We do have an app now. It's called True Foods, which is not actually an app, but it's a website you can go to. And unfortunately, it's not visually impaired friendly and accessible. But my mom uses it in the grocery store. Like, she will literally stop somewhere off to the side and say, "Let me get my app." And sometimes, more often than not, I'll be like, "I hate that app." But then I'm like, it helps. So, It's a small price to pay, cutting out some candy and stuff. It's a small price to pay for being seizure-free. I didn't say I'll never have candy again, obviously, but you know. The next one is practice grounding while regulated. That's a very important one because if you only practice when you're dysregulated, when your nervous system is already glitching and malfunctioning basically, then you're never going to learn the right techniques to use. Now, when I first started this new treatment with the F&D specialist therapist, the big thing that she brought up was grounding. And I'm not gonna lie, in the first 6 months or so, I went along with it, and I never told her this, but at home and in my head the whole time we were going over this, I would be like, this is so stupid, you know, this is for like people in elementary school. I will never use this. And now, this is one of the big things that have gotten me on the journey to becoming seizure-free, is grounding. And you can do them internally. You can do like all different kinds of like meditations. You can do different games like in your head, like think of something that starts with A. Think of something that starts with this letter and pick a category. Think of animals that start with M, or foods that start with this letter. Or think of how the chair feels underneath you and how it's holding you up. And these were some of the ones I thought were just the stupidest thing and now have helped so much. So, the next one kind of goes along with it. Tune into your breathing. Now, this is, again, one that I thought, this is so dumb, and, you know, I'm still breathing and whatever, but I don't need to take deep breaths. And little did I know, yeah, I had a lot to learn. So, and my most recent assistant, like, even when I would start jerking, like, she would breathe and, like, take a deep breath to model it for me. So I would eventually, one day, like now, be able to realize, oh, I'm jerking, I need to stop and breathe. And before, I was so tight that it would just be like a sigh, like, and now I can actually kind of purse my lips a little and get that, which is extremely helpful. And there were so many times where I thought it was so annoying, like, I'm just jerking, I'm used to this, I don't need to stop and take a breath. And now I'm just like, now I can do it. Now I've got the tools, I can do it on my own now, and it's one of the things where sometimes I'm jerking and I'll be like, wait a minute, I need to stop, I need to put down whatever I'm doing and just breathe. Take a few slow deep breaths and kind of resets everything. And the next one is be kind to yourself. Y'all are gonna have to play this back for me if I ever have if I ever go back and have another one. But be kind to yourself. A lot of the times, if anyone knows me, you will know how hard I am on myself whenever I have a seizure. And when I was in the midst of this, every time we would talk about it, like, my mom would be like, you know, what's causing your seizures, or do you know why you had that seizure? Every time I could be perfectly fine and my mom would ask that, and it would just instant. It would go from 0 to 10 in that amount of time. She would say, you know, do you know what's causing your seizure? And I'd be like, I have no idea. I'm just an idiot, or I'm just stupid. And be kind to yourself, because all that does is stress you out more, which in turn increases the seizures and the jerks. So, yeah. The next one is keep communication open and often between your therapist, between your teachers, between your parents and family. And there's been times where, and you don't even have to do it when it happens. There's been times where last summer I've gone over to friends' houses and I've been out with friends and I ended up going into a seizure. And I did not even tell my parents until our next therapy session, because I knew with my nervous system being high and I'm overwhelmed and they were panicking for me, and it would just result in an argument, and because everyone would be stressed out. And so you don't have to say immediately right after you get home, I had a seizure. And you don't have to come right out and say it. If you do want to say it when you get home, you can always write it down, or you can send it in an email to them, or make a journal entry and show them later when you're ready. Like, there's so many different ways that you can keep communication open and often as long as you're doing it. The next one is have multiple backup plans. I mentioned my purse earlier and my backpack at school that I use at school. It has all kinds of like communication devices. It has like a binder and my braille sense that I'm using now, an iPad, a keyboard communication device. You may have heard of a Dynarite. It has that. It has a laptop, communication cards. It has all kinds of. It has noise canceling headphones. So have backup plans for your backup plans for another backup plan. There was one time where I was using a similar braille display and it wasn't working. It kept freezing, and I did not have anything else that day. And the staff members were different at the typical staff members that work with me were out that day, and so the one that was working with me didn't realize had never seen me go into a spasm, and because I couldn't talk and say, hey, I wanted to stay at school, I was sent home, was mad at that device because it didn't work, and mad at myself for not bringing another thing. So I always have more than one backup option. The next one is have an emergency escape plan. There's been plenty of times where, like, we have went out to a restaurant or out shopping or out with friends, or, even prom this past year, and someone will be like, okay, if you have a seizure, what do we need to do? And so I would be like, okay, you do this, this, and this. Is there a place we can go? What does the place look like? Is there a quiet room? Can we step outside? What's accessibility like? So just kind of talking it over before anything happens. Being prepared. Next one is be honest with yourself when you need help. You guys know from one of my recent videos in November when my mental health was at an all-time low, there was quite a few times where I was going to say, hey, this is what's going on. This is how I'm feeling. But then I would make an excuse. Oh, I can't talk. Or, oh, I'll tell someone tomorrow. And it escalated to a point where I had to tell someone now. So be honest with yourself when you need help and reach out to other people who get it, because be honest and tell someone when you're comfortable before you absolutely have to tell someone. The next one is really important, and the one I wish I had done before it was too late. Don't push people away when you're struggling. At my old school, I've had a couple friends, and they have reached out since I have moved to my most recent high school 3 years ago. And when in the midst of all this, the past 2 years, I have kind of stopped responding, and eventually messages stopped coming. And by the time I reached back out, no one from there responded because they had moved on. I've moved on. And I just wish if I could go back and if I had the opportunity to go back, I would say, look, this is what happened. This is what, I'm sorry. I would like to kind of redo things, work things out. So don't do that. Be honest with people and say, this is what's going on. This is why I haven't responded. This is what I need. This is what's changed. Yeah. Be honest. The next one is use positive self-talk. I can't talk today. Use positive self-talk. Again, I would have a seizure and I would beat myself up. I'm an idiot, or I'm just stupid, or why can't I do anything right? And it's been a long process, but I've now turned that into, I've had a seizure. That does not determine the whole day, or that does not determine who I am as a person, more importantly. Next one goes along with grounding is drink cold ice water. Now this might be something that might work for you, or it might not, but we had something happen. I'm not going to go into detail, but we had something happen. It was back at the very end of May, just a normal school day. It was a normal relaxing night, and then we ended up having to rush down somewhere and unexpected, and we were all upset. And the thing that really helped me is I felt like my head was spinning, I was dizzy, I felt like I was gonna get sick. I took a drink of cold water, and it was almost like a shock that brought me back to reality, like, oh, whoa, where have I been the past hour? So it almost kind of woke me up from almost like this nightmare. So drinking cold water, and then it's helped since then with things like that also, when I feel seizure-y. The next one is the most important: never lose hope. There was quite a few times where I wanted to throw in the towel, or I didn't even want to go to school because I'm like, what's the point of me being there if all I'm going to do is sit in a wheelchair and jerk, or not be able to speak, or not be able to be in class for whatever reason. But I kept going. I focused on the smallest glimmer of hope inside and ran with it. And I didn't let it get me down, and I'm still here today to tell a story. This next one is something I've struggled with. Don't give up on therapy, which is probably one of the biggest reasons why I can proudly say that I've been seizure-free for 2 months, because there was, more often than not, especially when I was in the middle of this, where I'm like, what's the point of even going on this therapy call or coming into this therapy session today? Nothing's working. What's the point of keeping on with it and wasting more money on something that's not helping? And I am so glad that I went with my gut feeling, and it's almost like you have to force yourself to go on the call or go to that therapy session, get dressed and go, because I knew that if I did not go and I gave up on therapy, I would be hurting myself. We would just keep struggling. I would keep struggling. I would never get better if I didn't talk about my feelings, own up to the seizures and everything and how much I was having, be open. And I continued going to therapy, and that's one of the reasons I'm telling you guys this. Have a designated safe space. Now, this could be in your house when you have seizures. Now, at school, for me, it was in my wheelchair, strapped in, where I couldn't fall. Or if it was really bad, it was like on a beanbag in a classroom, or it was in the nurse's office on one of the cots. Now, at home, it's in my bottom bunk bed, where I'm like really close to the floor. I can't like roll out of the bed and like fall. And so just have something where you can lay down, breathe, and kind of get yourself together. Let me go back up because I skipped one for a specific reason, but now I can't remember. Oh, here we go. Create an inner dialogue. Now this, again, like the grounding and the breathing, was something that I thought was just extremely dumb, and I remember saying, I will humor the therapist, but I will never do it. Like, I'm never going to do this. This is something I'll never use unless I'm in therapy. I remember thinking that to myself, and now that has been one of the main reasons that I have not went into one, because of that. And sometimes it's the only reason that keeps me centered. My inner dialogue is I'm basically talking to myself, but it's like my brain talking to my body. And inside I'm like, I name the feeling, acknowledge it, and almost reassure it. So like, if I'm anxious in a loud environment, I kind of tell myself, this feeling you're feeling, the feeling of anxiety, it's a safe feeling. It's safe to feel this way without going into a seizure. You can be anxious but not go into a seizure. And that's what has really, really helped with centering and grounding and basically keeping it together. The next one is use alternate methods when necessary. Again, the whole adaptive school year, the shortened school day, but still going to school, using communication devices but still interacting, using a wheelchair but still getting to where I needed to go. Take advantage of those, and if you're anything like me, you think, when I first started, I think, you know, if I'm in the wheelchair, it's impossible for me to have a good day. Or if I'm nonverbal, it's impossible for me to have a good day and talk to everybody. But the reality is, I was still talking to everybody. I was still having a great day. I was just on wheels and speaking through a computer at that point. That does not determine the day I'm having, and that does not determine happiness. And slowly over time, like it started in, gosh, how long has it been now? December of 2023. The wheelchair, I was basically wheelchair bound at that point in the school year. And slowly over time to now, I think it was April of just this past school year, so April 2025, we actually started taking the wheelchair along with us, but I've been able to walk. And just when I feel a seizure coming, I sit down in the wheelchair, and then about 10 minutes later, I'm able to get out and say, okay, I'm good now, I can walk again. So slowly, gradually getting rid of or withdrawing the adaptive device. And last but not least is find what strategies work best for you and use them to your advantage, because drinking cold ice water or using fidgets might not work for me or might not work for you, but it works great for me. Or, you know, visualization techniques might work amazing for you, but for obvious reasons might not work the best for me and my non-working eyeballs. So, anyway, I hope this video is helpful. Remember, anyone going through this, you are not alone. You always have people with you. You always have someone that's on your side. You always have a team. You're never alone, and never think that you are alone. Reach out for help if you need it, and there's always someone available to listen. Even when it feels like it's not, even when it feels like it's the end of the world, don't give up. There are better days ahead, and keep smiling, keep a smile on your face. Surround yourself with people who bring out the best in you, who bring out positive energy in you. So that was today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought, and if you have any questions, I will see you guys in my next video. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you guys again next week. But if not, I will see you next time. Bye, guys.